excuse me, it doesn't quite feel like I'm having the unit count that I'm supposed to have. So you see me doing a little bit of a chrono boost here, but I don't really devote a ton of my chrono boost to this. I do get my first Phoenix out to scout what he's up to, and I'm honestly surprised at quite how many dudes he has. And I remember I try to do a little bit of poking here, because even though he has a lot of units, I can still try to kill this off if I'm not too greedy. And of course I was too greedy and stayed there a little bit too long. That's a very standard day 9 maneuver, to know exactly what the wrong thing to do is and just be like, ah, whatever, let's kill a depot. But that's okay, I did kill a depot. You will note he is in the red food, so, you know, really showing him who the boss is. Yeah, there's some more chrono boosts going down there. Still, not as many as I would have liked. I was probably around 33 energy when that Stargate finished, and I really need to have more. But this is what happens when your timing is a little bit off. You just don't have enough stuff. And look at him, not even stim marauders, just attack move marauders, just marching right in there, doing a ton of damage, and here I am just a little bit like, ooh. So I lift the Marines, which of course are not really a threat at this point. I just knew that I could kill them fast, so I did. And at this point I was kind of like, yeesh. So I proceed to kind of not do anything at this point. My money's getting kind of high. I'm trying to think, can I hold this? I wanted to expand, that would be my ideal play, but I kind of have to hold back for a little bit, because obviously I'm about to lose my front. So I try to lift what I can. I'm trying to warp in some stalkers behind here, and then I just make a bunch of warp gates in my main. It's really the only choice I have, and this Phoenix, I believe, stays here the whole game. Never had a clue he was back there. I think, yeah, look, there's there's the re-rally. Never have a friggin' idea of what he's doing back there, but no big deal. So I want you to just see that these Phoenixes are doing pretty damn well. If any of you got to see the Noni Phoenix special that was, I think in the Day 9 Daily 108, 109 range, definitely go back and watch those, because you'll just see some amazing work that Phoenixes can do. I mean, look at the kill count on these Phoenixes, 3, 2, 1, I mean, that's 6 kills total, and every single one of those is a Marauder except those Marine kills. So that really is going to be a huge number of resources that he's lost without even really doing much of anything. And I'm going to be able to lift up even more. I lift up and kill the Marine, which I think is a mistake. I think I should be killing the Marauders in retrospect. And it looked like at the time of the game, I also realized that that was probably the better decision. But despite having this huge crisis at the front, where I really did lose a huge amount of momentum there, I'm still not really that behind on food. Looking about even. What's Nick doing? What's my brother Tasteless doing? Yeah, he's just going for the usual medic marine thing. And actually, I think this is the one thing that actually let me stay in the game, was these two Phoenixes. Or, not those two Phoenixes, these two Vikings. Because really, honestly, truly, Vikings are not very good against Phoenixes. I definitely think the Phoenixes get the better of the Vikings in this. I mean, Vikings only have 125 health. The Phoenixes have a lot more than that. They have 180 health. And also the Vikings, they only do 10 damage per shot. I mean, that is 20, so it still is a decent amount against the Phoenixes, but the Vikings are not really going to help against anything else. The Phoenixes are great harassment units and can really help against these ground forces. So, I mean, it ended up being okay, but I think Nick would have been a little bit better off if he had just been massing the Marines really hard and been getting these upgrades a little bit earlier. It looks like he did get stim, though. Turret's also another excellent choice. So I'm just expanding now. My plan was just to 4 Warp Gate into safety, which sounds weird, but, you know, when you've lost 2 gateways at your front, you kind of have to. And so this is, I think what we're looking at now is a good example of a weird position. So let's just stop for a moment, because the game up to this point has been pretty hilarious. A lot of freeform decision-making been going on. The 2-gate at the front, probably the most significant example of this. But then losing it and having to pull back and having the good old only Phoenix defense versus only ground offense. So, looking at this situation, anytime you're in a weird situation like this in one of your own games, just stop and look around at the replay, pause it, and think, now, what do I want to do right now? And try to clear your brain from all the baggage, you know, and do stuff like this. What have I seen? Well, I've seen it. I think he's going Medivacs. Looks like he's still pretty much going Marine Marauder. So, I know that once I get a decent gateway count up, not a huge one, just a decent gateway count up, excuse me, gateway unit count up. My Phoenixes plus those gateway units are just going to absolutely murder pretty much everything that he can throw at me. Any of these early forces, I'll definitely be at a big advantage. Plus, I'll be killing off his medevacs with my Phoenixes, so that's great news. I mean, it turns out he's going Viking, but I don't really know that at the time of the game itself, so I also want to be trying to take out this third destructible rock pretty soon because just that's a good move in general. Anytime you have two bases up, you want to be gearing up towards taking your third. I also want to continue to be making some gateway units, but definitely getting my expo up. I'm worried about the fact that I'm low on money. I'm trying to poke around here, trying to get some openings. I want to destroy these destructible rocks just in case. Now that I have, this is a little bit small, this gateway count, but maybe if I had 4 or 5 more units, that would be a decent gateway unit count. For me to do some sort of little aggression, I just want to, at the very least, push back and keep him on his toes. I'm actually a little bit ahead in food. And the main reason I'm pushing back here is because my expansion is so late compared to his. He's had his up for just ages ahead of mine. So I need to do some little bit of damage with my stuff. I can't quite play super passively. And this may have been like the worst feeling ever when I saw all those Phoenixes, because I was just like, oh god. There's gonna be all these Vikings, and I try to pull my Phoenixes back, and I mean, if you can imagine all these being medevacs instead, the medevacs would have evaporated pretty soon, and this army would have almost certainly died with a few well-placed graviton beams. But either way, I think I'm clearly behind. So I wasn't, in this game, I was not planning on building more gateways past those 4. I was going to use those 4 to take out the destructible rocks. That was going to be my goal. Am I adding on more Phoenixes? I'm not at this point. My goal was to take out the destructible rocks. But now, I'm in a huge bind because, like, for the 5th time this game, something I wasn't expecting to happen happened. My first attack got crushed. So here Nick is, he's trying to come in here and kill me off, but I think the Viking landing was like the biggest save in the world for me. The fact that I got to be able to manage these units a lot more easily. I mean, this is exactly what I was saying earlier. Vikings in big numbers will crush almost any air unit, even if they're not armored. But other than that, the Vikings are just not that strong. Yeah, they really do not have the versatility against Protoss units. Against Zerg, Vikings can be pretty good on the ground, against Roaches and that sort of thing, but not so much against a big Protoss ground army. So anytime I'm in a huge bind, anytime I'm in a bind, I'm going to take both gases almost immediately. I was intending on taking just this one gas geyser, because you don't really need a ton of gas to support 4 warp gates. I mean, really, 2 geysers will give you enough of the sentries that you want. And I just get this extra one because I intend on doing some gentle teching in a little bit. But because I was up against the wall, because, you know, he killed off a whole bunch of my stuff, I'm going to need to be making a lot more bang for the buck. I need to be making a lot more sentries just because they're cheap on the money. And here I am adding on these extra, this extra gateway and this extra Twilight Council. Did not originally want to get this Twilight Council that early on. Definitely wanted to be getting my destructible rocks down and getting that 4th up a little bit sooner, but of course this game just began so funky. All my timing is thrown off. Now I want to emphasize this to you as I move my Gatorade out of the way. This is why it's so important to have at least an idea of what it is you want to do. Because in repetitions, your body will develop a feel for things. Or I should say, your mind will develop a feel for what the state of the game should about be. So, for instance, I know in my other builds that when I have like 4, 5, 6 Phoenixes, and at this point I'll maybe have 10 or so gateway units, I have a really strong ground army. And the thing is that it's not that 6 Phoenixes plus 12 gateway units is in general good. It's because at that point in time in the game, my Terran opponent is not really going to have much of anything that he can deal, or that he can use to deal with my big army. It's that timing thing. And in this game, you'll note that when I moved into the back of my brother's base, I had about 6 or 7 Phoenixes, and I was getting maybe like 8, 9, 10 or so gateway units, and it just botched like crazy. And even with some of those early pushes, I was pushing with, maybe 4 or so Phoenixes in my gateway units. And I didn't nearly have as much stuff as I should have because the opening was so screwy. So that's why I love repetition. So whenever you have a strategy, treat your strategy like when you started out, treat it like a skeleton, right? You just got the basic structure of it down. And as you play, you start to slowly see more and more and more and more patterns evolve, and you can begin slapping on some more meat onto that strategy. Sure, what'll happen is you'll get in insane situations that you weren't expecting. Like, for instance, if you're a silver level player and you have a loose strategy and you try it for the second time, and wow, I've never even thought about how to deal with banshees. You'll have some weird situations and some goofy losses, but that's okay because you want to have your skeleton strategy. You want to start adding on more meat onto it. That's why it's so important. So you don't end up in situations like this where I'm scouting with my Phoenixes going, oh, wait a minute, he's already gearing up to take his third. Oh, God, there's his command center going down. I've just stabilized